There's something uncomfortable about persistent because persistent forces you to face rejection again and again and again. And most of us are not defeated by failure. We are defeated because of embarrassment, by shame, by pride, by fear of looking absolutely needy, by fear of hearing no one more time. But Jesus tells us something very fascinating about a story in Luke 18 about a widow and an evil judge. And honestly, the judge was very, very wicked. That's what the Bible highlights. Scripture says he neither feared God nor cared about people. Highlight that. No empathy, no compassion, and no integrity. And the thing is, this widow kept coming to ask him for justice, something particular. The Bible doesn't mention exactly, or I haven't seen anyway mention what was actually very specific about that. She kept coming, not once, not twice, over and over and over again, and she kept showing up with full enthusiasm. I would imagine she'd be like, yo, I'm here again, what you gonna do? She don't feel, no, I'm here. And eventually the judge says something, fine, I'll give her justice because she keeps bothering me. I'm so tired and annoyed. That part always stood out to me because the widow did not win through any status or anything. She did not win through connections. She did not win through power. She won because she stayed present and very persistent.
Nhom now, it's all I need, yeah, it's all I need, yeah.
Now when people hear about persistence, they usually think, keep grinding, keep working harder, never sleep. But biblical persistence is deeper than a hustle culture. Persistent means continuing despite emotional resistance, despite the silence, despite delayed results, despite rejection. And psychologically, this actually matter more than people realize. Behavioral psychologists has consistently shown that repeated exposure reduces fear over time, over and over. Researchers such as Joseph and later cognitive behavior theorists discovered something very, very important. The more we survive discomfort, the less power that discomfort has over us emotionally. Meaning basically, the more you survive rejection, the less control rejection has over your identity. And that's actually so important, because the truth of the matter is each and every one of us know that reject, if you allow it, it can easily become weapon form against you. I know that much. One unanswered email, one ignored application for something, one awkward conversation, one failed attempt, and you'll be like, oh my gosh, I'm stressed out. Suddenly you start finding yourself, I'm gonna shrink there, I'm gonna stop talking, you stop asking, you stop applying for jobs, you start applying for certain grants, you stop trying, not because the door is fully closed at all, but because your pride got bruised. And I'm saying this with you because I am with you. I am you, you are me. We are the same, like this. We the same, because I feel it with you. It's a constant battle every day. Even the fact that I do these videos, it's quite a hard thing to put up a video and you get less views. That's rejection. So it's like, why are you be coming back some more? To get some more pain. First time when it started happening, I was like, ooh, what are we doing? But I start seeing the small impact that people have, or I look at how many hours. Sometimes maybe I could have like 40 views or whatever, but like out of that 40 views, there's about 3 hours watch time, right? So there's a real impact that's having on. I get an email and all of that. So there is impact, but I keep coming back more and more until, because I know one of these days we are going to be somebody else, right? We're going to be persistent over and over again. And the thing is, when that first rejection come, or that rejection come, this is where many people, we start losing opportunities, not because God said no, not because the vision was wrong. It's because shame convinced us to disappear too early. Psychologists like Carol speaks about what she calls a growth mindset. Her research found that people who believe growth is actually possible are more likely to persist after a failure instead of treating rejection like permanent proof that they are incapable. That matters spiritually too, because sometimes rejection is not distraction, sometimes it's actually a development. You see, the widow teaches something that is actually powerful. You cannot be both deeply persistent and also deeply prideful at the same time. Persistence requires lots of humility to ask again, humility to learn, humility to return, humility to not collapse emotionally every time something feels quite uncomfortable. And I think this is important for high functioning people, especially because high functioning people often struggle with this silent pride. Now, there's those people who are just like overly prideful, but then there's those like silent pride, you know, not arrogant, but the pride of self-protection, self-preservation. I don't want to look desperate. I don't want people to think I fail. I don't want to be rejected again. And I've experienced it on my end where people assume that I've rejected them, or assume I've somehow said no to them because I had the power to help them and I didn't. But the truth of the matter is, maybe at that particular time I couldn't help them, but I was planning in my heart and my soul to help them in a different way and in a different light. The attitude towards how I've rejected it or said no at that particular time shows me, and it is evident to me, that that is not somebody that I want to have anything to do with it. No matter how nice and friendly that person is, at the end of the day, how somebody takes rejection and how persistent they are, or how they have an attitude afterwards, makes the biggest difference in the world. Because the truth of the matter is, your emotions should be constantly in check. Think beyond that particular moment. Instead of persisting, they retreat quietly, but freedom requires endurance. Let me share a quick story. There's one of the time that I got rejected, and it was a long story for this one particular person. Later on did I know I wanted to have a really bad attitude about it, and I mean, they had every right to be the way they were, but eventually I held in my pride and I just kind of left it. I never said anything. Later, much later years, they became one of my biggest blessings ever. But because, you know, no matter what, if they spoke to me, if I still catch up with them, I still do all of that. It was about allowing myself to break that ice, to break that rejection, to break that pride, so I don't hold it up, because I could find somebody with similar character and I'm going to repeat myself again. That attitude does change everything. Get better, do more, because that makes a big difference. And the thing is, with the widow in the Bible, she was amazing. And she wasn't going through like hype, no motivation, no applause. She had like grit, right? Now, let's look at some of the things practically. Here are 5 ways to overcome rejection and build persistence. Number 1, stop personalizing every no. Not every rejection is identity based. Sometimes timing is so wrong, sometimes systems are broken, sometimes people are completely distracted, sometimes doors genuinely are not for you. One actual no does not define your values at all. The widow was rejected repeatedly, yet she kept separating the outcome from her worth. That's the emotional maturity. Number 2, let repetition build your capacity. The first rejection hurt really badly. The 10th one, you realize you survived. Psychologists like Albert found that confidence is often built through repeated experiences of action and actually survival, not through avoiding discomfort. Every uncomfortable situation, every uncomfortable conversation expands your emotional capacity. It builds you, it gives you grit. Number 3, detach persistence from your ego. From my ego too. Some people stop because their ego was expecting some applause, or they felt hurt, and that was this, and all of that. They don't want to take feedback and so forth. But real persistence often looks repetitive and unglamorous. Quiet emails, quiet obedience, quiet consistency, no crowd, no validation, no immediate reward. And honestly, that's where the character is always build, right? I've had someone said something and gave me a feedback. I'm always getting constant feedback, because of the kind of work that I do. And they had very interesting language to use, and they said what they got to say. So my automatic thing, I'm like, I'm rejected, I feel some sort of way about it, and I want to write an email. But I wrote an email back. I said, okay, how can I actually be better in this situation? What can I do better? Even though I felt some sort of way, there is still always constant room for improvement in certain area. And sometimes it's not even about improvement, it's about keeping that line open of relationships, because relationships are everything. You need relationships in people's, you need people to succeed in any area of your life. Number 4, remember why you actually started. The widow kept returning because justice mattered to her. Purpose creates endurance. When your why is shallow, you quit so quickly. If a job comes up and you wanted to apply for a job or whatever it is, and you kept quitting because you are rejected or whatever, that means your why was very shallow. That then it wasn't deep enough, because the truth is you have to hold on to that. But when something deeply matters, healing, purpose, family, calling, freedom, you develop staying in power. And number 5, keep showing up without becoming bitter. This one matters deeply, because the truth of the matter is, hey man, if I keep going, I'm just being like, yo, I can't do this anymore. What kind of wickedness are you, my friend? Calm down. What's wrong with you, right? It does matter to not be bitter. Persistence is not aggression at all. Persistence is not losing your humanity. You can continue trying without becoming so cold, without becoming cynical, without becoming entitled. That is the key. Researcher like Anne describes resilience as ordinary magic, meaning resilience is often built quietly through consistent adaptation, not dramatic moments. That is powerful, because many people are waiting for one big giant breakthrough, while God is developing endurance through ordinary consistency. Bitterness will crowd your mind, and a free mind stay spacious. That's the real goal. Not just getting an outcome, but remaining whole while pursuing it. So if you are rejected recently, do not disappear. Do not find yourself oh, I'm just going to stay in my space, I'm gonna self and protect my peace, but you ain't protecting your peace, you're bitter, you're feeling some sort of way about it. Don't allow that embarrassment to silence your future stuff. The widow in this story hold every reason to actually stop, but she kept going, and eventually resistance moved. Sometimes your breakthrough is not on your first attempt. Sometimes it's after consistency outlasts that discomfort. Persistent is not always loud. Sometimes it just means I will not allow temporary rejection to make permanent decision for me. And honestly, that changes life. And maybe that's the question today. What have you buried way too early because rejection embarrassed you? Because sometimes the difference between silence and breakthrough is simply the willingness to return one more time. The widow kept showing up. Maybe you need to as well.